You are your own resistance to goals. Hitler wanted to be an artist, then an architect. Apparently, he found it easier to start World War II than to face a blank canvas. Those who do not learn self-mastery are destined to have masters over them. Resistance is the enemy. Your enemy is your greatest teacher, Dalai Lama. Pretty much anything that is going to significantly improve your life is going to bring resistance. Though we generally like to blame outside forces, it's almost always from within, and will assume any form to confuse you. It has no conscience to screw in you, is always lying, and is always full of shit. Navigate by resistance. The more important a call or action is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we will feel toward pursuing it. The more scared we are of a pursuit or calling, the more sure we ought to be that we have to do it. Resistance is experienced by fear. The degree of fear determines the level of resistance. Therefore, the more fear we feel about a certain enterprise, the more certain we can be that this enterprise is important to us and the growth of our soul. If it meant nothing to us, we wouldn't care and wouldn't feel anything. Resistance recruits allies. Those who will not govern themselves are condemned to find masters to govern over them. Symptoms: procrastination, unhealthy focus on sex, causing trouble just for attention, self-dramatization, creating soap operas in our lives, criticism of others, self-doubt. If you find yourself criticizing others, it's probably out of resistance, though we can turn procrastination on its head at any moment, just by sitting down and doing our work. Attention is a faux form of fame. It's easy. Ill health is a form of trouble, as is lateness or tattoos. Anything that draws attention through pain-free forms. Cruelty as well. When we know in our heart that we are not living out our realized self, we lash out by criticizing others. Are you paralyzed with fear? Fear is good. Like self-doubt, fear is an indicator. It tells us what we have to do. The more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. The more fear we fear over a certain enterprise, the more certain we can be that it's important to us. Rationalization is resistance's right-hand man. It's one thing to lie to yourself. It's a whole other thing to believe it. Rationalization is a series or plausible, rational justifications for why we shouldn't do our work. Because if it was just fear, we might grow embarrassed and do something about it. Rationalization is resistance's way of hiding fear from you, so you don't confront it. We must enact our own internal revolution, a private insurrection inside our own skull. In this uprising, we free ourselves from the tyranny of consumer culture. We overthrow the programming of advertising, movies, TV, and magazines, from which we have been hypnotized from the cradle. We unplug our minds from the grid by realizing we will never cure our restlessness by contributing out disposable income to the bottom line of Bullshit Inc., but by only doing our work. Overcoming resistance is natural. If you need proof, childbirth. The whole concept seems impossible, until you realize it's been happening for millions of years. For the professional, the stakes are high and real. This is about survival. This is about providing for our family. This is about eating. We don't just play this game of life for money. The more you love your art calling enterprise, the more important its accomplishment is to the evolution of your soul. The more you will fear it, and the more resistance you will experience when facing it. The amateur over-identifies with his avocation. He defines himself by it. He is an author, musician, playwright. Resistance loves this. He knows that the amateur composer will never write his play, because he is over-invested in its success, and over-terrified by its failure. It paralyzes him. The more important an accomplishment is to the evolution of your soul, the more you will fear it, and the more resistance you will see. The payoff can't just be for money, because it might not come. Resistance yields to ourselves as a professional. A professional is someone who plays for keeps, is there full-time, 7 days per week. Patient. You cannot go balls out all of the time. He is the tortoise and not the hare. Seeks order. The principle of organization is built into nature. Chaos itself is self-organizing. When we set out to create something, we take the chaos of our world and thoughts and put them in order. Someone who masters the how. Leave the why to the gods. Don't be preoccupied by the mystery. Do the work. Plays it as it lies. Conducts his business in the real world. There is no such thing as a fear-free warrior. There is no such thing as luck. You have to adapt. Prepared at a deeper level to confront his own self-sabotage. Is mentally ready to absorb blows and deliver them. For the field to alter daily and just deal with it. Accept no excuses. Do the work. Has style, though does not use it as a means to bring attention to himself. Someone who respects his craft and dedicates himself to it. Apprentices himself to those before him. Masters his technique. By toiling at the front door of technique, it allows genius to come into the back. Someone who will ask for help when necessary, even enjoy it, removes herself from her instrument. They don't identify themselves with their instrument. They can look at it objectively and with impunity, in touch with their consciousness and will, not the matter in which their consciousness and will impacts their world. Madonna does not walk around the house in comb bras. Madonna employs Madonna. Will not take the results personally. Resistance uses the fear of rejection against us to paralyze us. The professional loves her work and is invested in it wholeheartedly, though she does not forget that the work is not HER. The her contains many thoughts. The next idea is already percolating, and the next and the next. Self-validates.